1650 PWAM, that's 1650 PWAM. We are pro wrestling and more. And joining me tonight, first off, welcome to the unofficial CWF Mid-Atlantic Worldwide After Show. We just got done watching episode 115. The Weaver Cup has officially started, and we got a hell of a tag match, I thought, to end the show tonight. Jeff Edwards is not here. So and I should have taken Jeff Edwards up on a bet, because we're clamoring around trying to find a co-host for this week, because I don't like doing it alone. It doesn't come off good when I do the show alone. So I was like, And I even put this out on Twitter. I was like, I wonder if Bruce Mitchell from The Torch would join us. Full well expecting Bruce to say no, because we're just a lonely after show, and he's a senior columnist for The Torch. And lo and behold, Bruce said yes. So Bruce Mitchell is joining me right now on the line. How are you, Bruce?
You know, I've had a week. This week I have done shows with National Wrestling Hall of Fame journalist Wade Keller, the manager of the Four Horsemen, J.J. Dillon, WWE Hall of Famer, another WWE Hall of Famer, Stan Hansen, WWE Hall of Famer Gerald Briscoe, and WWE Hall of Famer Jim Ross. And now the highlight of the entire run, it's built to this, been like a great wrestling program. You know, I've been climbing that ladder, and now I'm here on the blow-off show, the blow-off match. You're it, man. You transcend all those guys.
I would thank you for putting me over, but
you got it, Joe. Yeah.
I was going to go the opposite of that and say, look how the mighty have fallen.
No. You know, I had to build my way to this show, to CWF.
I appreciate
unofficial,
it, sir.
Official. Official, unofficial.
I appreciate it, sir, very, very much. If you'd like to, tonight we're not taking phone calls because we got Bruce on the line and we don't want Skype to screw anything up. But if you would like to ask a question to Bruce Mitchell, we'll take questions later on in the show. Please keep them tasteful. We are in the chat room here on YouTube. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We are 1650 Pro Wrestling and more. And we have a lot of good shows on the network this week. But Bruce, we're here to talk about CWF Mid-Atlantic, episode 115. The Weaver Cup tournament actually is officially underway. I wanted to ask you, though, a little bit, before we get to tonight's episode, a little bit of background about your relation or your fandom of CWF. I got to admit, you are one of the people that got me to check out CWF, because I heard you mention it on the Bruce Mitchell audio show on The Torch one day. And another guy who I know, Phil Stamper, puts out a list every week of basically almost every indie event happening across the U.S. and even around the world. And CWF happened to be on that list. And how long have you been going to CWF? How did you find out about CWF? And what is it, in your opinion, about this promotion that is probably one of the top 10 best promotions to watch in the U.S. right now?
Yeah, as far as CWF goes, I actually was up in Waterloo, Iowa for the National Wrestling Hall of Fame induction ceremonies and for the weekend that they have in the Dan Gable Museum, the Lou Thesz George Tragus Museum. And I was part of a panel with the Briscoes, and I don't mean the Briscoes from Ring of Honor, I mean Gerald Briscoe and Wes Briscoe, and about independent wrestling and the lead announcer for the panel and the lead announcer for the weekend, Midnight Guthrie, who is the commentator for Impact Pro Wrestling out of Iowa. The first thing he recognized was my CWF Mid-Atlantic shirt.
Nice.
And yeah, and I think the technology has changed. Everything has changed so much that you can, if something's good, word gets out about it. Mm-hmm. So I bring that up first. But probably I found out about CWF, not probably, I found out about CWF Mid-Atlantic. They've been around, I think, 17 years. And somewhere early on, I don't know if it was the first year or anything, they started running 30-minute television shows on one of the smaller local cable networks. I'm here in Greensboro. And I'd watch a little bit of it, and I just decided to go and check it out. And they were running in a different place. This may be the third place they've run. But the regular shows in a sportatorium feel, it was a television studio feel. And they were decent shows, but they could be all over the map, like a lot of independent shows could be. And in this area, there are plenty of independent shows where they usually, they usually have the guy on top would be someone who'd been on television during the glory years, in Jim Crockett Promotions, is now a little bit washed up, and some guy would have his cronies on, and they'd have a bunch of people, and the shows would be fun if you liked, if you liked something that was kind of bad but you could have a good time at, they'd be all right. And CWF ran year to year, and I knew some of the people in it, and then I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, I would go about once every 6 months, and 2 or 3 years ago I went, and I was just like, you know what, this was better. And this was better than I remember, and it had more of a cohesive feel to it. And the talent, I was struck by the fact that the talent, everybody that was on the show was in a place where they should have been. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like the guys that were the best were in the best parts of the show. The guys that were limited were doing things they could do, and they were used to their best advantage. And I knew play-by-play commentator Brad Stutz and Corey Edsel from their teenage years in Thomasville, North Carolina, going to shows over there. They were just big, loudmouth fans who were fans of the top guy in Thomasville, Rick Link. And they had worked their way in the wrestling business. Corey had made it all the way to WWE's developmental before NXT, and as a big man wrestler. And Brad was just a smart guy. You could see, being a heel manager and a talker, and you could see him kind of expanding his career. But all of a sudden I realized this stuff is really good, and I'm not going on the torch. I'm not writing about something just because I know people in it or it's my local promotion or anything like that, because I think that's kind of a cheat to all the readers, but unless it's really good. And this stuff is really good. I mean, it's just and then started to see Trevor Lee make these title defenses, or win the title and then make these title defenses, that very much were like title defenses of the U.S. title back in Mid-Atlantic day, or Jim Crockett day, or the World Championship with Ric Flair, and matches that I thought could hold their own with anything in the world. And so I've been going more and more. I've brought civilians with me. I brought wrestling friends. There have been people from John Philippovich from Johnny P from Philadelphia coming down. I've met him, I don't know, 14 years ago when he contacted me about doing it out of Philadelphia because he wanted to interview me for an ECW documentary that took years to get, to like clear up and get done, and then he did an excellent job with it. But they've established a business that, to me, it's, are you making some money and being able to sustain yourself and doing things that make sense and then building off of them? And this place does. I mean, it's just like whatever show I go to, I expect it to be good. I expect it to make sense. I expect to build to the next show. And in a way, I think they're ahead of the curve. I think some of the booking and some of the work in the ring is ahead of the curve. And it's beginning to be a place where people, and this show talked about it tonight. I mean, a place where other talent wants to travel and, have some matches in the CWF Mid-Atlantic Sportatorium to put on their resume. It's interesting, you put up with the fact that everything makes sense and you're going to have a good show when you went there. I will say, and I've said it on the air here many times, there have been shows that have been very, very good, and then there have been shows that are not so good. But I will say there has never been a bad show at that Sportatorium since I've been going there for like the last 2 years, 2.5 years. I've never walked away feeling like I have not gotten my money's worth. And like you said, the booking, the in-ring work, the fact that, I mean, I'm going to say it again. I use this analogy all the time. It's a rather crude analogy, but if I go to their show Saturday and if I cut a fart in the third row, they're going to remind you 10 years ago about how bad, or 10 years from now, about how bad that fart smelled. Nothing is wasted in this promotion. Everything has purpose. Everything has meaning. Everything, like tonight, we saw it tonight. Caprice Coleman returning. Every single thing has a meaning. Let's get to tonight's episode here. What is your thought as far as, their YouTube show goes? I see some weeks I see a drastic change. No, I wouldn't say a change. A drastic difference in how things come off live versus how things come off with commentary and production behind it. What are your thoughts on what they're doing with YouTube? And do you ever see, do you think that they're maybe not ready right now, but do you ever see them getting back on TV again? Well, I think everything has to make sense in a business way, and that's one of the things I like about them. You can spend a lot of money to get some exposure and do it in the wrong place at the wrong time, and all you're doing is wasting your money. And I think that right now YouTube might be the best place for them until they can build up a demand where people would want it. Right now they're getting their name out, and it's a grassroots thing. It's incremental.
Oh, yeah.
I see, I see them being talked about more. I see word getting out more. You can kind of look at how many views some of these shows get, and it's growing, but it's not there yet. So, and I guess I'm kind of used to, because I go back, I go back really a long time with a lot of this stuff, and so I'm used to like going to a show, a television taping for back in the 80s or even the early 80s, and then going home and watching it on television and seeing the difference. Like something that comes across really well at the arena might look different by the time it made it to television 3 or 4 days later on that weekend. And I think a lot of us have been to Monday Night Raw or an Impact taping or a WCW taping or a WCW Nitro and a live show and pay-per-views and all that stuff, watched it live and then gone home and watched it on the DVR or whatever it was we were using to record it and seen something different. But I think the YouTube thing is cost effective, and it seems to be that Grant Sawyer does a great job of putting those shows together, and Cecil Miller and Brad Stutz doing the commentary where they're consistent and they can talk about. Your fart analogy is quite the analogy, but it's true that they use everything that's been a part of that promotion, and they're so wired into the wrestling world. Cecil, the whole wrestling world. Brad, the wrestling world that's not Japan. But they're so wired into everything. They can give you a little bit more for the student of the game, but they can also keep it fairly straightforward for the CWF fan or for the person who's watching for the first time. I think that latter part's more important than the former part, to be honest with you. I think sometimes independent bookers book too densely with too much complicated stuff going on, and not realizing that people are watching them one show at a time. They're not involved in their minutia all day long like they think they are.
I gotta be honest with you. The YouTube thing here, the last couple of months, and we've asked Grant about this directly, and Grant's like, I don't care. I'm just it's just something that we do to get our name out there. The way YouTube has been treating pro wrestling as of late sickens me by saying that it's not advertiser friendly, and that basically they're calling it cheap. So people like Wrestle Circus and now What Culture over in England, they're resorting to Twitch, which is a video game streaming service, and they do pay them a little bit of something. They treat it as an art form and as advertiser friendly. So hopefully maybe one day CWF will get that far, to Twitch, but I totally agree with you, though. It's probably their best bet is on YouTube. It's the way to reach more people nowadays. Look at Vince. We'll talk a little bit about WWE later, but the way Vince's ratings have been falling, maybe TV's not a viable thing for wrestling anymore. But let's get to tonight's episode here. We open with CL Party holding that trophy, and this is, again, another thing I love about CWF, and maybe you could speak about this because you've been going there longer than I have, and you were even there live for this taping. The fact that they can make a tournament, and they were doing this long before the fad of tournaments in wrestling have been going on the last 2 years. The way they make a tournament seem relevant, and the way they make a tournament seem important, that trophy that sits in their lobby seems so important. Can you speak a little bit about this tournament and just their way of making it worth something?
Well, they named it after Johnny Weaver, and for modern wrestling fans, that may be a name that's shrouded in the past or not known to them at all. But Johnny Weaver in the 1960s and 70s was the good guy wrestler in Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, and he became the gateway wrestler for the generation of wrestlers that became the first generation of all places, WWE Hall of Famers. In other words, of Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat and Roddy Piper and Blackjack Mulligan. And when this area was, and I'd argue it, had the best talent and was getting the most money per pop out of any wrestling company in the world. New Japan, WWF, whoever else. It was Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. And so, number one, the guys that own this company and work in this company to this day, they want to link up. There's a reason why it's called Mid-Atlantic. And they wanted to link up to that history and to that karma without getting sued, but they still wanted to do that. And so they brought in Johnny Weaver, who had not been seen. He was working as a Charlotte deputy sheriff in the jails and transporting prisoners. Had not been seen by much of anybody for years and years. Got his daughter Wendy to come in, and brought in his broadcast partner, because the guy was one of those guys he was a top star, a booker, a commentator, a house show, ran house shows, an agent, did everything there was to do before he finally left wrestling. But anyway, Rich Landrum, who was one of my favorite, Johnny Weaver and Rich Landrum, one of my favorite broadcast combinations I ever saw, brought them back together again. And even for fans who don't know who that is, it's like, okay, this has a tradition. This is important. They're not just making stuff out of whole cloth, and a lot of times I think wrestling looks that way, particularly independent wrestling. And then not just giving a tournament. Like if they give a tournament, the brackets, you look back at some of these TNA tournaments over the years, so you look back at WCW tournaments and WWE tournaments, and they've gotten more disciplined about it in the last few years. But a lot of times these tournaments, the brackets didn't hold up. They changed from show to show. They didn't think people cared. They gave you weird finishes. They gave you that. But with this, they kept the tournament consistent, and they had something in mind for the guy who won it, and they would celebrate the win, and they would talk about it all year long, and then come back during the summertime, and then they'd have the tournament again. And that kind of structure gave them something to work with. And then when the booking tightened up, and this generation of wrestlers that Lee and the rest of them have really gotten. I mean, that's been they've had the talent ready to go with it, and the long-term booking has been better. You need that too. So it's it's part of the plan. It's part of that. So it's a serious thing. And so for the fans that come from the Gibsonville, Burlington, Durham, Greensboro area, Alamance County area, they know it's a deal. They know they're not going to get short-shifted by it.
I'll be honest with you. I probably drive about 45 minutes to an hour each way just to see this promotion. And for the last 2.5 years, there's a wrestling promotion that runs right down the road for me in Pelham, North Carolina, which is right on the North Carolina-Virginia border, right off on Highway 29. I could go there monthly if I wanted to. It's 10 minutes down the road. Don't want to go there anymore. I'll go to CWF. And I haven't been to any other indie promotion except for CWF in 2.5 years. It's just how good it is. And it's just how, it shows you how, like you said, they bring it back year after year, and they've noticed that, hey, fans do care. Fans really do care about the outcome of this tournament, because it sets up, a year-long storyline kind of, hey, when will that winner cash in? We have Mick Moretti, who this is my first time seeing him. He's from Australia, versus the old juke joint Lucas Calhoun from Shikara. What did you think of this match, Bruce? I personally thought it was comedy. You kind of knew that you were going to get that. But what did you think about the match? And more specifically, I don't know if this is the first time you've seen Mick Moretti in person or even on TV, but what were your thoughts on this one?
Well, the juke joint saloon. Tell me his name again.
Lucas Calhoun.
Okay, Lucas Calhoun. I'd seen 2 weekends in a row. I came to the Shikara show. Okay. For at the Sportatorium the week and before, and that's an Elvis gimmick. I mean, that's you could say Honky Tonk Man gimmick, but it's an Elvis. Elvis Presley loved wrestling, wanted to wrestle Jerry Lawler at some point. Kind of talked about that. Dated Penny Banner, Johnny Weaver's wife, and before they got married, and trained in karate. So he's got a very stylized gimmick. There was parts of it that made me laugh. The punch of death, of doom, which is the urban legend was that Bruce Lee got hit with the punch of doom, and the punch of doom would be you get hit, you don't get hurt, and then you collapse 3 hours later and die. That was always the story. So they played into that during the match, and I think you had to know your Elvis a little bit. But Chikara has these very stylized gimmicks, and Moretti, my thing with him, I thought he had very good facial. It's the first time I'd seen him. I thought he had very good facial expressions. I love the Bozo the Clown hair. I thought this with a couple people on the international portion of the Johnny Weaver Memorial tournament, that bracket. The coat with all the stuffed animals all over it was trying too hard. In other words, there's too much. There's too much. I'm crazy, so everything I'm going to show you is crazy, crazy, crazy with no reason, and it gets it gets a little muddied. It's too much gimmick and not enough, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
While it was funny to see the coat versus full of stuffed animals, and it did make me laugh when some of them fell off of them, by the end of this match, I felt like it did not fit the gimmick at all. It just doesn't fit him. It makes no sense. It's there for, we always joke on this show, Joe likes bright lights and pyro and flashy things. That's all this was, and it just doesn't fit him.
I think sometimes people think a gimmick is a gimmick if you're a heel is how can I annoy everybody? One of the most annoying things I can do, but they lose track of it should fit a wrestler in a wrestling ring, and it should have some sort of purpose to it. And besides just we're gonna laugh at you and think you're a geek. I mean, there's got to be more to it than that. And there's too much of that. There's too much of that on this night, I thought.
I thought the match itself, though, once you got past that, once he took the coat off, Moretti reminds me of a famous. Well, he's now famous because he's been on 2 seasons of The Walking Dead. And he's done, the only other thing that I remember him doing before that was he played Trevor in Grand Theft Auto 5, was he looks a lot like a famous actor. His name is Stephen Ogg. And Stephen's known for playing crazy parts and looking crazy. And Moretti just reminded me of him so much. But once you got the coat off, once we got the silliness out of the way, the match served, you had a lot of comedy at the start. And then those two guys actually started really working and trying really, really hard. Calhoun got the win. The high knee into the clothesline was real good, I thought. Moretti with the delayed tope atomico was really impressive, and they even made mention of it on commentary tonight. Of man, he has to really control his body to do something like that. And again, commentary adding a ton to this here. So Calhoun wins with a Samoan drop. He advances on into the tournament. Bruce, you have anything else on this match before we move on here?
I do like that Calhoun takes his time. If you watch him, he moves into what he's going to do, and he lets it all kind of unfold in front of him. So that's a good thing to see.
We got an Alex Daniels promo, and every time I see Alex Daniels, I feel like I like him more and more and more. This kid gets it. With the real Ben Affleck gimmick, he gets it. And his work, that match against Trevor Lee that he had a couple weeks ago, if you're watching it, if you were there live, it had now been probably a month or so ago, was really good and really turned a lot of fans onto him. A lot of fans in that arena, we talk about those fans in that building and how fickle they can be at sometimes. They'll let you know if they like you. They'll let you know if they want to see you back. They'll let you know if they can't stand you. And they like Alex Daniels now. I have a feeling he was baby-faced going into this match, even with this promo being cut. What are your thoughts on CWF doing something recently within the last year that they hadn't really done before, and that's doing pre-tapes, letting guys cut promos? I feel like this is lost on the indie scene sometimes, don't you?
Well, I think you've got an opportunity with the YouTube channel, and they've got the equipment, so it doesn't cost them very much, and they've got a guy that can put those things together, and they've got one of the best talkers in the business, a guy who can cut promos like nobody's business in Brad Stutz. I'd put him up there with anybody, Paul Heyman included. Having said that, and so I think that if you're an indie guy, I mean, if you're an independent wrestler and you're looking to move into televised wrestling, you should be working on promos. I think that's a way that they can, that you can stand out I've said this on the Torch for years, and I very much believe it. The wrestling in the ring, the athleticism, how it's put together, how it all flows, it is better than it was. It's advanced for years and years and years. What hasn't advanced is the art of the promo. There's too many stilted promos. We talk about why that is, but there's way too many of them. And so if you can learn how to do a promo before you hit NXT or before you hit Ring of Honor or some major company, that's going to and it starts catching some viral use. I mean, that's really going to help you. Now, I don't see anybody that's doing that, but but they should do that. And to me, the promo is a big part of the wrestling show, and not the 20-minute promo, but what they're doing on these shows. So give these guys the experience to do it, and let them keep doing it, and let them start figuring out, all right, what works for my character, and what can get more people to watch me, because the promo was what drew people to the arena to see the matches, and if you drew more people into the arena with your particular promo, you got paid more in the end.
Yep.
And so I'm all for that. I think they should make use of that. And I think with Alexander, great look. I took teachers. I'm a teacher by trade, so I took some of my civilian teacher friends with me too. And they saw his match with Trevor Lee, and there were some of them that said they thought he lost the match, that he was the better performer. Now this is fresh, untrained eyes, but still they were like really impressed with him. You're going to get after about one thing though. I like everything about him, except I think the Ben Affleck gimmick part is stupid.
Wow.
Like it doesn't fit the rest of it. It's just, yes, you look like a major movie star, sort of. So what? And as a guy that gets some heat sometimes because he can be in bad movies, he can be in good movies, but that's sort of like a first. He's not an opening match guy. He's got a lot of talent and he can do a lot of things. So just that I'm supposed to be mad at him because he looks like a movie star. Once he takes the shirts off, just seems kind of weird. It doesn't come together for me.
I like how the fact that he's like, no more reindeer games, sad Affleck knee. He kind of referenced it a lot more tonight than he has in the past. So I think that gimmick made a little bit more sense tonight than it has been. But I definitely could see your point on it, that he's a good enough worker to where he really doesn't need it. Jonathan Miller in our chat room says, did y'all think the crowd was kind of dead tonight? My opinion on this is the fact that you got to remember, a lot of these people that were on this show, that crowd has not seen at all. It's a lot of first timers.
Right, never seen them. Yeah, that's true. I thought I was kind of laughing, going, "Boy, you picked an interesting show for me to be on because this isn't full of CWF Mid-Atlantic regulars, and it's it's talent from all over the place."
People are saying that you have officially turned heel when it comes to the Alex Daniels thing.
Oh no, I'm right. You're wrong. I'm sorry. I'm trying to help the guy. You guys are holding him back.
In a match where, well, he's holding himself back if you think the gimmick is done, because, I mean, he's responsible for that being an indie guy. He could totally ditch the gimmick if he wanted to.
If you guys keep encouraging him to keep the gimmick, I mean,
look
that's my point.
Look at the Young Bucks. Anyway.
Right. Hey, I will say this. If it catches on and he's selling T-shirts and Ben Affleck, has him walk down the red carpet in his Batman suit, then, hey, it certainly isn't the worst gimmick ever or anything like that. I just think it's just kind of like, okay, it's cute comedy, but it's kind of wink, wink, ironic, but you can do more.
Yeah. We then got Aaron Epic with Aspen Rose versus Matt Nix. Matt Nix came out to a song that I remember from my kid, I believe it was, from the Goofy movie. I'm dating myself there, I believe. I put here, Epic is a big dude, but he can really freaking go. This was almost a squash match. I don't know how this was live, but to me, on YouTube, watching this, Matt Nix really didn't get a whole lot of offense in. He really didn't need to. And they put, between the commentary and the match itself, Aaron Epic has landed. And I want to, even if he gets eliminated in the next round of this tournament, I want to see more Aaron Epic in CWF. Bruce, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I kind of thought that was the way it was set up to be, that they wanted them to, somebody needed to come out of the match. If they did a 50-50 match, against two guys that were new to CWF, that really, new to most people watching this, even if you're watching everything. It wouldn't have been as effective. So I thought this was fine. Yeah, it's like I think he'll fit in the quarterfinals.
I put here that Matt Nix, and I know this is going to ruffle a lot of feathers given the way that the indie scene is nowadays, but Matt Nix looked like, and I wrote down here, looks like any old regular indie guy out there today. He just looks like anybody, that you would see on a regular indie show. I'm glad Aaron Epic went over here. Only thing I did not like about the match itself was Epic going for that Rainmaker. That's so overdone. It is so overdone now. The story of the match, though, came in the finish. Aaron Epic hits a pile driver, which is banned in CWF, and I'm surprised that the commentators, they went, excuse my language, they went apeshit, but they didn't go as apeshit as I thought they should went. What were your thoughts on the finish with the pile driver, and how did that go over live? Because that live crowd knows that move is banned. So did they respond to it live just as much as I responded to it here watching it?
Well, I was surprised at that a little bit too, and they did make sure the ref was out of position during the pile driver, and it was a very fast pile driver. So all that made sense, but to do that in the first, to use something that they have built up, and in traditional wrestling used to do that too. It's like you take the pile driver, you make it completely illegal. Anybody who gets hit with a pile driver is going to be taken out. And they didn't show it on television. They did a great job of carrying the guy out.
Really?
They made a big deal out of that. I mean, they sold the daylights out of it, and CWF is really good about the concerned medical help. Whether they're medical help or not, they're concerned. They're coming in. Everything stops. They pull them out and take their time and all that. But I was surprised to see that used for a newcomer in his first match in the first round of the Weaver tournament. Whether it comes into play later with this particular wrestler, I'd be interested to see. If it doesn't, I think it was kind of wasted. If it does, okay, my mind's open to that. But yeah, there were people that noticed it. Crossed my mind. I was like, wait a minute, they don't use that for this, so it's illegal and all that. So I think that's I do think that's smart to hold back a hold or two and make it seem like they're so deadly that you can't even allow them to do it, and then at the right moment use it. But like I said, they did a great job of selling, carting the poor guy off, and I know there were fans that were concerned for his welfare. I'll say that.
It also made the fact that, hey, this is an outside guy. Maybe he could, they didn't go this route, but you could have had it to where the outside. I didn't know that was banned, and that plays more into his heel character. But this way it kind of came off of, he did know it was banned. He waited for the referee to turn his back, and he hit the move. And then in the back, we get I felt like they were going, if anybody saw the WWE British tournament that they held last year, and the Pete Dunne Triple H thing in the back that they had afterward, that they released afterwards, you had Stutzy and Eric Epic in the back, and he's like, that's anybody who hits it with a pile driver is DQ'd, and Epic looks right at him and goes, basically says, hey, the ref didn't see it, I got away with it, I beat the system, and I thought this was good. It made Aaron Epic look more like a star here. It made him look more heelish. It made him look like a guy to watch in the tournament. What was your thoughts on them going this route with that backstage promo?
Again, that it's building to something. It's building to something with either the pile driver or Epic or both down the line. I know that that was. I just don't think that would be by accident with him.
I hope it's both. I really hope it's both. Anything else on the Epic Matt Nix match before I move on here?
No, go ahead.
All right. We had AC, Hawks, and Zicky giving a promo next. It was just a standard promo. Hey, look out, we're coming. We're going to get our shot at the titles. Again, it was a very standard promo, but guess what? How many indie promotions allow their guys to cut promos week after week, especially guys that you don't see every week in the promotion? Anything about this promo that you would like to say? I thought it was just pretty standard. It was good. There wasn't nothing bad about it. it was there, and it deserved to be there, I thought.
Well, I would say that just like everybody has what they can do in the ring, they should have just as much as for what they can do out of the ring, and this was pretty generic.
Mm-hmm. But again, it's indie wrestling, and you don't get that every week. So I mean, generic is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if they go work in Paducah, Kentucky, they may not get a chance to do this. So it helps. It's CWF helping out guys too at the same time. It's helping out indie workers at the same time. CL Party's on our screen next, and I have to say it's always a party when CL Party's on your screen. Is she not one of the greatest ring announcers, interviewers, hype girls, dare say, in the business today?
Yeah, she's got a real personality. I really do like CL. I think that there's an energy when she's doing what she's doing, and they use her in subtle ways. And whenever a heel pushes her, just pushes her verbally or messes with her, she's got some her facial expressions and dealing with people and all that. And then she's great looking in a way that isn't right out of the WWE, cookie cutter, diva sense, and that helps too. But a good personality, and I think she really helps, and she seems like she doesn't seem like she's like Renee Young in the sense that she knows some wrestling, she knows her stuff, and so that comes across too. It isn't just she's one of the women on the sidelines at an NFL game who are good looking, but they deserve to be there because they know football.
Absolutely.
And that helps. And also, like I said, there's just an energy and a personality that she has that's unique. I saw her tryout video to try to get I don't know what it was, EC3 and TNA was needing a personal assistant or something. And that was really funny. And she really did that naturally. It was like that was, the part with her going, the part with her hanging up on her mother and all that. I mean, I think that, like, she's one of those characters. She's somebody that I think they're training up. Like part of CWF Mid-Atlantic is training people and having them climb a ladder to what they can do and using them. But I think there's a lot to go with her. Put me on the CL Party fan list for sure.
I got to tell you, with the thing with Ethan Carter, I found that by accident on her YouTube channel. And the moment she's like, "Oh, it's my mother. I don't need them," and throws the phone off, I died laughing. I was like, "That's it. Why is she not? Why is she not with him in some capacity after cutting that promo? Like, how did that not get noticed?" We have the Coach's Corner up next. And CL's in the ring, and of course Jerry Carey takes the microphone from CL, and they make a joke about ruining their ratings. CL is ruining the ratings, and Eric Royal is there. No Roy Wilkins this time around. They bring out Darius Lockhart, and the story here is that they didn't have the best team last time when Darius teamed with Roy. But now they're trying to get Darius to team with Eric Royal, and he gets a second chance, but he refuses the All-Stars. This whole deal with the All-Stars has been going on for quite a while in CWF. We always talk about how you need good factions, you need good stables in wrestling. What were your thoughts on this segment, and I guess what are your thoughts overall on the All-Stars?
Well, the All-Stars, I think, are always going to be part of CWF. And there's a history there, and it's it's a gimmick where it's a gimmick. Everybody hates the front-running fan. Everybody hates the sports expert, the coach who's a know-it-all, who doesn't know anything, who switches teams every year, just to get heat and just to get on your nerves. Not even to get on your nerves because they just have no character. They're not loyal to their own teams. So you've got that. The whistle really does work. It's annoying as all hell. He doesn't use it too much, but he uses it. And then you've got those skinny little legs and skinny little ankles and in that dweeby baseball uniform and all that. So it's something that's been built for a long, long time. I think it probably works better for mid-card monster acts or goofy acts than for the top of the card stuff. But and Eric Royal is the top, and Eric Royal is the top of the card guy. But excuse me, I'm fighting my voice. But I liked this. I think Eric Royal is really coming to his own, enjoying himself as a heel, and I'm usually not a big fan of talking with the crowd, but he's the exception that proves the rule, and he's also just the facial expressions. As you saw later on in the show, how his face looks, what he's saying, he's really natural with what he's doing, and then he's a great wrestler in the ring. And then Darius Lockhart I met him in the neighborhood I live in, and he is a very smart guy who, very young in the business, but he's been trained in England. He's been all over the place, and really has potential. And he also, his gimmick isn't a gimmick, and that's going to be really interesting to see how that affects his career in positive ways and maybe not in positive ways. But I liked how he came across. I liked how the real story of the show started now, and I thought that this is good stuff.
You mentioned Darius Lockhart, and I first saw him for Pure Pro Wrestling, which is that promotion I mentioned up in Pelham, North Carolina. It's ran by a wrestler by the name of Jimmy Love, and everywhere else I've ever seen him, he's been a heel, but for the last 2 shows here on CWF, he's been a babyface. And it's interesting seeing him as a babyface given the gimmick, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and it builds up to something on this show. But yeah, I think it almost has to be a babyface gimmick, but it's going to be interesting to see, because it's very much a Black Lives Matter idea. And I don't know how in the world if you play that heel, it's really dangerous. You play it babyface, it's going to be interesting, and he knows he's not just faking it. That's something that he cares about. That's something that's important to him. He just graduated from college, 2 different degrees. I think he's working in the corporate world even right now. And like I said, it's going to be an interesting fit, and it's something I've talked to him a little bit about, but it's something I want to talk to him more about. But it really paid off. Where by the end of this show, I thought CWF has a main event with this that you can do a lot without being too overt about it. But I mean, I just thought this is pretty good.
The match that the direction that they went in tonight is very interesting. Very interesting. It's not something that I could have predicted unless I would have, went there live. I mean, the past few weeks, I have not been, I'm going this Saturday just to see Chip and Kane, but I haven't really been going to CWF shows since Absolute Justice, I think, was the last one I went to. So the direction they're just watching it on YouTube, just going off what I'm seeing on YouTube the last couple weeks, and my regular co-host for the show, Jeff Edwards, he lives up in Pennsylvania. He doesn't come down here, so he only watches it on YouTube. And I'm going to be curious next week as to what he thinks about this, but it's definitely interesting in watching this unfold here on their quote-unquote TV. We had a Colby Red and PB Smooth promo. PB Smooth has been in the news lately. He just recently had a WWE tryout. Bruce, what did you think about this little promo here, and can you tell us anything more about PB Smooth that we may not know?
Well, I've seen PB Smooth a few times with CWF Mid-Atlantic, and he's big and tall, and he fits what WWE would be looking at. I'm not surprised that they had him try it. I haven't heard any results out of that, but he's new. To me, he's kind of green.
He is.
But there's real potential with a guy like that. I mean, he's not, he can move some. He just needs more time. He just needs more time in the ring, doing positive things, and being coached by the right people, and just, learning more of the nuances, learning more how to, and figuring out what his character is besides I'm big and tall and PB Smooth. I mean, there should be more, he's kind of plain right now. So it makes sense. It's right where he would be. But, I mean, he's going to get a guy that size who can move like he can already, is going to get looks in the professional wrestling business.
I was going to ask you, did it take you by surprise to see that he was getting a tryout up there so early in his career? Because, like you said, he is still very green.
No, they're always going to. They're going to look at guys like that, and if they can get them early on, teach them the way they want to teach them, and get them built up the way they want to build them up. That's at the end of the day, that's what Triple H and Vince McMahon are going to be looking for.
We had Logan Easton LaRoe versus Adamoro. I loved this match. I loved everything about it, from the mist, from the missing the mist right off of it to Logan. I love from the second I saw him in that CWF building. He's a guy from typically wrestles up in Nova Pro. He has his very own section in Nova Pro called the 1% section. These guys dress up as suits and love the hell out of this guy. But yes, their sister promotions they're all part of PWI, which is kind of like the sanctioning body of all these different promotions, kind of like the NWA, if you will, for CWF. So I don't pay attention to Nova Pro because it really all that much, even though I probably should, because this is not a Nova Pro after show, it's CWF, so I'm only basing off what I've seen of him in CWF. This kid, I don't think it comes off on TV how good this kid's body is. He's really good. What were your thoughts on this match with Logan Easton LaRoe versus Adamoro? And just, yeah, the YouTube thing doesn't do Logan justice, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the elite, the 1%, the people that live in the gated communities that when they go to see Journey, they not only see Journey, but they go backstage and get their pictures taken with them, and eat with them, eat hors d'oeuvres with them, and get massaged by them and all that. Who doesn't hate that? So that's a natural gimmick, and he plays that. He plays that well. He wasn't wearing his cashmere sweater that night, which I was disappointed in, particularly since it was just hot as blazes. So I wanted to see him do that. But yeah, he's good. He's got something. So I was like, wasn't crazy about. I wasn't crazy about the Kabuki mist being blown at the beginning of the match and missing. To me, you only do that. The first time you see it, you don't see it coming, and it wins the match. It isn't just something how you start a match. You go, whoa, Kabuki, like that's not. And I thought that when I was watching it live. I mean, it's just. But and again, young green talent getting some, but a great look. Both. I mean, 1% guy is not green. He's good, and Japanese wrestler. Clearly is pretty green, but with real potential and being trained with Tajiri. I didn't know that till listening to the commentary, and I think that it just won the RG Rising Generation League Championship from Scott Sterling, and that was I was surprised that night. I think there's something there with that.
He won the Ultra J Championship. Kane is the
Ultra
RG
J Championship. I'm sorry. I haven't done as much talking as Wade Keller, but on his new Podcast One show. But aside from that, I've done too much talking. So yeah, lately.
So I like to shake my hand, kick his butt. That crowd, man. This is where the crowd actually came alive here. The Kabuki-ish stuff I liked. Again, learning that he was trained by Tajiri and he's a young lion, and that the good young lions actually get permission to go out there and journey the world. This right here showed why you need to watch the YouTube show as well as go to the live shows, because Cecil Scott's commentary on this was absolutely brilliant. And they'll tell you, Brad Stutz will tell you, he's got it when it comes to the Japanese stuff. He knows all about it. And I really think that Brad kind of laid out here in certain parts for this and let Cecil shine, and I was really glad to see that. I got to bring up something about this, Bruce, about this match.
Yeah.
We got a biting spot.
Yeah.
And they mentioned that old people bite. And they said Bruce Mitchell would know. Any comments on that?
Well, first, you were talking about the tradition of Japanese wrestlers, young Japanese wrestlers traveling the world to get a reputation. And Tatsumi Fujinami traveled the world, including coming and doing enhancement work in the Carolinas for Jim Crockett Promotion. So did Tenru. Tenru was one half of the Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Champions with Mr. Fuji. There's been a ton of those type of wrestlers come through this area that became all-time greats. So that was, for me as a student of wrestling and then also just, an old, I don't know if I want to use that word, an old fan, that's pretty cool to see that tradition kind of be alluded to and be there. And it is the one chink in Mr. Stutt's armor. It really is, because it all connects together, and it isn't all that far from each other either. But but yeah, that was fun, and the fact that old people bite, and then you can sit in that arena and pretty much hear, particularly Stutz, but you can hear Cecil too. Yeah. Do their commentary live. I mean, you can hear it, and so I'm hearing that, and I look over and I get, Bruce Mitchell was right there with me, and I was really looking to pick on Brad about, your boy's taking you on Animal Hamaguchi and all that. It's like, you're not keeping up. And to hear, Bruce would know about old people and biting. I'll just put it like this, Cecil. I'll be there Saturday night. You can bite it. So, no problem.
You're right, because you were sitting in that front row right there in front of the commentary table, and I sat in the seats behind that VIP section. I want to say it was last year or 2 years ago for the Rumble. And if you're sitting in that section, it's like you get the best of both worlds, because you can hear the YouTube commentary and you're getting to see the live action. It's almost as if you're sitting there watching the YouTube version of it live. But, it's very interesting when you can hear those guys. And you can hear them, especially we pick on Stutzy a lot with the screaming that he does on commentary and the, oh, God. It's like a running joke. Every time we see something that we like, it's, oh, God, or, oh, shit, something like that. You can hear that in that building. It's another reason why you need to go to that Sportatorium. And I'm glad you said you're going to be there this weekend, because I'm going to be there too. I'll be sure to come up and say hi to you at least.
Yeah, I said this before, but I think Brad Stutz is one of the best play-by-play people in all of wrestling. Like, period.
It's very
all
true.
Of wrestling, and I even some of his idiosyncrasies play into, if he's excited, usually what's going on is important. If he's going off, and if that high-pitched voice comes in, it's because Katie barred the door. So he's a very good commentary to keep all that up with him, and the two of them he and Cecil have a real rapport.
I haven't heard that expression, Katie bar the door, in years. Thank you for that.
Dick Lane.
Yes, sir.
Dick Lane out of the Olympia.
Yep.
Yeah, all right. Olympic Auditorium.
I like how they played up the time limit for this. Adamaro's not used to the time limit. He's not used to the 10-minute. He's used to 50 or 30. The only part that I felt that was, that may have thrown a lot of people off, and may have even thrown people off live in the arena. Maybe you could comment on this because you were live. The part where he's just ducking and dodging Logan, and Logan has to keep hitting the ropes. That was something very Japanese. How did the crowd respond to this match live?
I didn't take that as Japanese.
Really?
I took that as, this is what I took it as. And the funny thing was, and it actually wasn't all that funny, although there wasn't that much difference. There wasn't that much overlay between the Chikara crowd and the CWF crowd from Saturday to Saturday. In other words, there's 3 or 4 of us, I think, if at all, that were there for both shows. But there was a match in the Chikara show that did the exact same spot. And what it reminded me of was Jimmy and Johnny Valiant with Bobby Heenan, that old-time heel tag team where they do comedy like that.
Yeah.
You're running back and forth. One guy, the foolish heel, is running back and forth, exhausting himself, while the resourceful babyface is standing there laughing at him. And finally, the guy just slows down because he's gassed out. It's okay. I think it's something you can do once every 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's like
I was kind of surprised at that.
It's like the crisscross spot. That's one of the things that get me every time. It's like
to row your boat.
Yeah.
There's some real old-fashioned stuff that doesn't come around that much, because I don't think Vince McMahon probably saw it too often when he was not in charge of his dad's promotion, and now doesn't let him do it. But it goes out of style. But yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
couple things I wanted to hit on here. Logan hit an ace crusher to win the match, and I don't know what it is about his version of the cutter, but the way he twisted his legs in midair really looked like it put more emphasis on that cutter to me, that ace crusher to me. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Yeah, I liked it. Everything, anything you can take a move and make it your own, any little, subtlety is going to help you.
I don't know, watching it, I'm sitting there going, did he mean to twist his body like that? Because it really just, if he didn't mean to do it, keep doing it, is my advice. I mean, who am I to give advice, of course, but keep doing it because it made the move. It made a cutter look devastating. I mean, it just something about his size and the way he just twisted his legs around like that, really good stuff. Anything else about the Logan Easton Leroux versus Automato match before we move on here?
No, go ahead.
Alex Daniels versus Stevie Fierce. No crowd reaction for Fierce. They didn't know who he was, nor did they care. Alex Daniels, though, again, he's won the hearts of these people, and I think it's based off of the match he had with Trevor Lee about a couple months ago. And the way he got the attaboy from Trevor after the match, even though he refused the attaboy from Trevor after the match, he played straight heel. It didn't matter to the CWF crowd. That building likes Alex Daniels with or without the Ben Affleck gimmick. I think they laugh at the Ben Affleck gimmick now, regardless of what you may think about it. They like Alex Daniels, the worker. They know he can work good. They know his work is solid. And I just felt like, Alex Daniels, the second this match hit the ring, I was like, Alex Daniels has got to be going over here. What were your thoughts on this one?
Well, I think it was a feature for Alex Daniels, and I definitely, he won, he's a new champion, and he's a new heel champion, and so you want to feature him some, get people used to him, and see what he does. And this match, I agree with you. I mean, he's over with the crowd, and this match worked. So it was. I think you need some basic building blocks, and I was glad to see this.
No, I put here no more reindeer games. Fierce hit a really good bulldog. I was enjoying this match. I was kind of with the crowd as far as Stevie Fierce went. I was like, oh God, this dude just has no reaction. But as the match went on, for me, he really proved himself. I think he did his job here in getting Alex Daniels over. That reverse Rana spot, I hate it. I hate it every time I see it. Somebody's going to end up breaking their neck when they do it. It's not just CWF. It's not just New Japan or the indie scene. I don't want to see that spot. If I never see that spot again, I'd be happy. What are your thoughts on it?
There were some spots that night, but that spot looked worse live.
Really?
Like, I agree with you. It looked worse live, and it looked like, and I'm definitely, as far as this goes, a believer in risk-reward, and if you take a risk, it should be a managed risk, and there should be some real reward for it. And I don't think the risk was anywhere near worth the reward for how that looked. So don't do it.
A lot of people are like, he looks at Fierce at one point and goes, "You're not Matt Damon," and he's like, "I'm the star of Good Will Hunting." Again, I enjoy it, but I see your point of it doesn't really belong in a wrestling match.
It's okay. It's a matter of personal taste.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
The sad Affleck knee I thought was good. He hit the reverse Rana. He hit I called it a turnbuckle brain buster for the win. That's another move that I think maybe he needs to ease back on it. Jonathan Miller in the chat room said that he wished he would have hit a different move. We've seen that buckle plex or buckle brain buster before, and it never won him a match. Would have been cool for him to debut a new move. I kind of agree. We've seen what throwing people into dasher boards and turnbuckles can do. It's not that good. The results aren't that good. I think he needs to, get a new move over. What were your thoughts on the finish here, Bruce?
What y'all were saying, kind of what I talked about before.
Okay.
You can do it more. They can do it more efficiently, with less risk.
Jeff Edwards pointed out last week that there's a guy in the front row that looks just like Kevin Smith. He even had a Kevin Smith Blackhawks hockey jersey on.
Oh yeah, he had some fun with that guy.
Playing
in
off
fact,
the
I got the
Ben Affleck
impression that maybe it was It had to be deliberate, if you ask me.
I was going to say,
I don't know anything.
it almost looked like a plan. It did almost look like a plan. I'm like, this is too good to be true. You got the guys that claiming that he's the real life Ben Affleck, and there's one of Ben Affleck's best friends, Kevin Smith. You know, Kevin Smith, a guy who pretty much made Ben Affleck with Chasing Amy and everything else. You're right. It did look like a little bit more than just happenstance of him being in the front row. But he gives the guy a hug after the win. The next match here was, was your tag team gauntlet. I honestly, I felt like they could have done a little bit better explaining the rules here. Because when somebody went over the top rope and got eliminated, I'm like, okay. But I thought it was by pinfall only. But I call him Sharpie. Ethan Alexander Sharp and Dr. Dan Rockingham versus Percy Davis and Frankie Flynn. Oh, man. This match was it was a gauntlet match. So every so often another guy would come out. You could get eliminated by throwing someone over the top rope or doing it by pinfall. Also kind of crazy about the fact of the rules of this match were kind of very sketchy, and this is the problem I have with CWF sometimes. They have these matches, and they don't clearly explain the rules. What were your thoughts on the match of all, barring the finish? Because we'll get into that in a second, but just the opening moments of this match, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I normally don't like 4-team gauntlet matches and, six guys versus each other and all that. And usually what happens with CWF is I am a little fuzzy on the rules, which is not a good thing. And then I see the purpose, and I'm like, okay, I get it. And I think that this was there for the last two teams. Mm-hmm. And this was there for the reveal of Eric Royal's partner, and then for the reveal of Darius Lockhart's partner. And everything else before that was either Ethan Sharp character stuff or noise. And and that's and to set up everything later on. So once we got past, Ethan is Ethan, and it was that stuff is, he's good at it. He's fun, and it's a character that you can do a lot with and beat and put in situations and see how he'll react. And it's a classic wrestling character. All the way further back than Playboy Gary Hart, through Jim Cornette, through Brad Stutz, through Ethan Carter, and Ethan Sharp. Excuse me, not Ethan Carter. Ethan Sharp, and you can do a lot with that. But this was about what got set up after the match, and I thought the important parts were well done.
They did something that I don't think they do very often. They showed you what the locker room looks like there at CWF. And, they cut in the middle of the match, and that Eric Royal's still looking – he's still looking for a partner. And they were like, we got him lined up. And then they go to the locker room, and nobody's there. Michael McAllister.
Yeah, you're supposed to think that everybody ran away.
Yeah.
As soon as he left to go get coach. Because no one wanted to team with him.
Michael McAllister shows his face, and I put here, Michael McAllister has merchandise. Why are we not able to buy it? Because he had a Fury Michael McAllister T-shirt on. And then the only person there is Cool J. And Cool J, of course, Cool J's down for anything. And they akin Cool J to Chappie, and Eric Royal even comes out.
Let me ask you something. Wait a minute. Let me ask you something. Joe, I know in general what the deal is with Chappie, but I don't know the specifics. What is the Chappie was the stooge for Coach's All-Stars, and then he disappeared, and whatever it was, they don't like him. So do you know the specifics of that? Because that does that has piqued my curiosity, because whenever his name gets brought up, you can tell we're ribbing on the square hard there.
Yeah, I don't know. He was here today, going tomorrow, and I'm in the same boat as you are. And now it's like every time he he was always like, lack of a better term, they treated him as the bumbling idiot of the All-Stars. He could never win a match. Chappie is dead is a phrase that you would hear a lot of times whenever he would take a big move. And
because Snooty Fox would kill him on a regular basis. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
But there's something more going on here. There was something. He did something or acted a certain way or whatever it is. They got sick of him for real. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if behind the scenes maybe there's something wrong. I don't know.
Oh, I definitely assume that. I don't know what it is specifically.
He hasn't been seen. Nobody is. As the old phrase goes, we have not seen hide nor hair of him in a long time. So Cool J, they were like they were mentioning, or comparing him to Chappie, and of course, if you know Cool J is like the ultimate short. How do I put this without ticking people off? Dare say jobber? I don't know. I mean, if that's the right word for it. Like, you see him, and he's a short dude. He barely reaches the top turnbuckle when he's standing up. So when he comes out, everybody's like, "Oh God, he's got no chance." I mean, Donnie Dollars.
And Donnie Dollars, though, I think the last time he'd been on the CWF show, Donnie Dollars virtually killed him.
Yeah.
Like just crushed him.
I was there live for that. I don't know if you were, but I was there live for that.
Oh, I was there live for that. Oh yeah. So we hadn't seen him since then. Yeah.
I was gonna sit there and say maybe Cool J is dead. Cecil Scott's in the chat room. He said the story is that Chappie is terrible. That's the quote unquote kayfabe story.
That ain't the story. I don't believe
that ain't the story. We're looking for dirt here, okay?
Yeah.
I mean,
Cecil's giving us the corporate line.
The corporate line, yeah. Because I don't think his storyline never had a finish. From what I've seen, they've really made no mention of it. It's just, we're looking for the next Chappie. I like Cecil Scott's Bohemian Rhapsody reference in this. Is this life or is it fantasy? I'll be honest here though. This is the best I've seen of Cool J. This was his best outing.
No, I thought watching this, you'd have to do it. You'd have to do it to me. You'd have to do it exactly right, and protect it, and really do it carefully. But you could make from the offense that Cool J gave tonight. And one of the things that we're saying is he does look like a little comedy character and all that because of his size. But he's in shape, and he's there. In other words, he's at that dojo training.
Yeah.
So he can take it. He's got sense. He's got some guts.
I'll be honest with you.
And some determination. So, but anyway, I think that when I was watching him do what he did during this match, I was like, you could make a hell of an underdog kid's babyface out of this guy one way or the other. But you could, you'd have to do more than just. He can make a guy. You'd have to make him more than a mulkey. Like in the Donnie Dollars squash match with him, he was like Randy or Bill Mulkey way back in the day, where he made Dollars look like $1 million to the point where you thought, as you said, he's dead.
Mm-hmm. So Royal comes out with Cool J, and Royal single-handedly with a Space Jam and that tackle takes out Donnie and his partner. And then Lockhart comes out and Stutz, we got one more team. And Lockhart comes out, and the big reveal for his partner is none other than Caprice Coleman, who I was excited to see. And they get the win here. That finish, what they hit on.
Well,
Cool
wait a
J.
minute for a second. Let's take one step back though. What I liked about how this played out was that coach's guy. The coach's guy was Smooth J. A guy you see pretty regularly. The story was that Royal and Coach and Jerry Carey couldn't find anybody.
Right.
And you were set. It was a disappointment who they came up with instead of Roy. And so instead of Roy Wilkins III. So then you're kind of thinking, okay, Darius Lockhart. Well, he's been in the promotion, but he really hasn't had a featured role in the promotion. And he's bringing out a guy, and okay, it's going to be. Somebody better than Smooth J, but it's not going to be anybody big, that's that big a deal. And then you hit it, and it is somebody that's a big deal. It's somebody that relates to the history of the promotion, who was there in the beginning and has made a name nationally in Ring of Honor and all that. And then fits what Darius is trying to do with his gimmick to a T.
Yep.
Like all of a sudden, all these elements came together, and I was like, that was really well set up. I like, for me that night, that made the night for me. That was smart stuff.
You go back to that gimmick that Darius has, and then you see, and I'm hoping I'm not out of line with the world that we live in today by saying this, but you see Caprice Coleman come out in a black leather jacket wearing a black beret. And I was like, oh my God, he's got Black Panther gimmick going, you know? And I was like, this
does relate to that. And
it fits.
The thing about that is, you know who they sold more hip-hop records to than anybody in the whole history of hip-hop? White boys.
Yep.
I mean, that can work. I mean, all that can go, that can cross cultural lines big time. If it has to be done the right way, and they have to be real careful about it. But and of course, I think Cecil can back me up if he's still listening. That I gave Brad, I thought, a very useful suggestion as far as that goes. But
all right, so like I said, I think it fits with the gimmick. You still with me? Uh-oh. Did we lose you, Bruce?
Hello?
You still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. Sorry, I just had a plug go out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm back.
Good.
Yeah, I'm still here.
It just definitely fits. When I saw that, it took me rewinding it and realizing what he came out wearing, and then dawning on me, because they haven't really been enforcing Darius's gimmick in the last couple weeks on TV, but when you think back of, hey, the dude's got Black Lives Matter written across his tights, and now Coleman's coming out doing this, I was like, are they really going to go there? And in the back of my mind, I'm sitting there going, I hope they damn well go there, because it's going to be entertaining if they do. Especially when you see him working against the Dawsons, you know?
Yeah. Oh, no, that was like, I saw that, and I thought, you start thinking the next step, but this was really good, and those two, Lockhart and Caprice Coleman have a chemistry, and it's it's the next step in Darius's career, and we'll see how it goes. But I mean, it's a really interesting, really provocative, gutsy move on everybody's part, and I liked it. And then, but go on with it.
That's pretty much all I have here. The finish of this match, though, when they hit that finish on Cool J again, Cool J's dead. That's the impression I got after having such a good outing in this match. Cool J's dead again.
But he got featured, and he had to be real. That was a promotion for him in the sense of he got featured with what looked like some really appealing, cool offense.
Yeah,
he wasn't just a dead. He wasn't just a body.
Absolutely.
And he didn't need to win the match. It's like you remembered that part. Then when he lost, it was he got put over. He got put over. Eric Roll got put over. Coach's deal got put over. And the new Revolution, or whatever Darius is calling it, him and Coleman, brand new top tag team too, and the Dawsons. So I thought that was good booking. That was where everybody benefited. Everybody played their role. Everybody benefited.
Got a little bit of more time here left. We've only been on for about an hour and 15 minutes. So you said you'd go a couple hours with me here this weekend. Chip Day.
Really?
Maybe.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm just this morning.
Chip Day.
Now, it's worth saying, the Dawsons, the Dawsons are those guys. I mean, I think they're, like, naturally good.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Dawsons are those guys, you walk into the bar, you see those two. They don't need motorcycles, but they could have them. But you see those two, and you're not going to mess with them.
Nope.
They're credible as they can be. They play the roles really well. I did get a big kick out of Caprice Coleman going, "Oh, we saw you, Bing!" Like they popped right out because, But anyway, I was but it was like that feud, that program. That's interesting. There's a lot that you can play. That I don't know what the deal is with the Dawson's new manager.
Neither do I. This guy just showed up out of nowhere.
I don't know why those guys need a manager, because the gimmick is the gimmick, and they both can talk, and you believe they can beat your ass. So I don't know what else they need.
I'll put it to you this way: it shows you how important that manager is. I watch this. I've been watching this every week now. I can't tell you what the guy's name is. So
Yeah.
he's just there.
We'll see.
This coming Saturday, you mentioned you're going to be there. I had made I made a statement that I wasn't going to go to any of the Weaver Cup shows because I wanted to be caught up on the TV with my podcasting partner Jeff Edwards, and to where we could both kind of be caught up together and watch it together, and me not know spoilers. And plus, it was a financial situation here on my part. You know, I do have to drive 45 minutes there and back to watch this. But when they announced this match this Saturday, Chip Day, Kane Justice, my jaw hit the floor, and I was like, I'll be honest with you, it's going to make me sound like a total freaking nerd. I don't care. I went to GameStop and sold every physical video game that I own just to get a ticket to this. That's how bad I want to see this. How much are you looking forward to this?
Well, first, I'm just glad. I've heard that exact story, but it's been I went to GameStop and sold all this stuff so that I could run the wrestling show and promote it. So someone just taking a couple of video games and you know, cashing them in to get money for tickets. I get that. That's like a normal person. There's nothing wrong with that.
It shows you the impact of the promotion too.
Yeah. I you know, boy, Kane has his fans, and
yes, he does.
You know, he does. I think he would be well served to keep working hard, keep improving, and pay no attention to some of you people. But and keep kind of going in. I think every time I see him, I think, okay, this and there's some other people in CWF. I think this too. It's like pass the next test. He's really young. He does some things really well, and he's coming into it really well too. He's come a long way in a short period of time, but he's still got a ways to go. I mean, he really does, and I'm enjoying watching him, and I think like for him to wrestle, you know, Chip Day, this kind of a guy that's that good in that many different ways, is going to be the next test for him and the next experience for him. And so, if you know, one of the things that's cool about wrestling is if you can find the guys, and sometimes you can find them, and sometimes you think you found them and you don't, and all the rest of it. If you can find the guy in the early stages and identify that he's a star and go along for the ride. You know, that he's got that potential to be a star and then go along for the ride. That's a really cool thing to do. So, but King Justice, he's good, but he's a young boy.
We'll see. I want to ask you a little bit about Kane because we had him on the show a few weeks back, and we asked him about this, and he said he really, you know, it was neither yay or nay to him. His mom being in that crowd and cheering him on. And some weeks that has an effect on his character. Some weeks that gets the rest of the crowd cheering for him too. He's since called her out and away on many shows. Mom, shut up, which I think is freaking awesome. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, technically, shouldn't she, for lack of a better term, be smartened up and be booing her son?
Well, I don't think she gets him. I mean, she does. I've heard people cheer with her. I've talked to her for a minute or two, and I like how he handles it. I think it's just a little extra thing he has going on that if you're paying attention in that crowd, like not everybody knows, but if you like, you know, if you're watching a crowd, you figure out some things. And she's hilarious, and it's like I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think she turns the crowd babyface, but I do like one time in the match, Shut Up Mom.
Yeah.
Works as the heel. You know, it works as a heel. It works as, you know, he looks like he's 12 years old. So, I mean, like, it looks, in that part, he's like this snotty guy. And I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it does work. And so, if he makes it a thing the whole time, it wouldn't. If they're, like, going back and forth the whole time and it takes over what's going on. But it doesn't, particularly when he's doing the things that he's really good at, the technical, you know, the technical whole moves back and forth and all that. But I like, you know, he's coming into his own as far as like owning the building and being, you know, like how he walks out. And so, yeah, it's just part of it. And as he goes other places, he needs to go other places. I think he knows that. And as he goes other places, he won't have to deal with that. But I mean, that stuff is, you know, that's part of it too. How do you deal with your buddies, and how do you deal with the neighbors and your friends and your family that come to see you wrestle in front of a crowd where you can hear them. So I don't think I think that like he can take it or leave it. I think is a very good attitude to have about it.
I don't know how much inside information you have with the promotion. You've been going there. You're a friend of them. But
yeah, they hide the good stuff from me, I think, which is fine.
Well,
yeah.
that bleeds into my next question. Think Kane's walking away from this one, and should he, with this whole tournament, and should he be the winner of this tournament? Because you look at these brackets, to me, this is Kane's year. It may be considered hot-shotting him. You said he's very young. But to me, they got a diamond in the rough right there on their hands, and they could tell a hell of a story. Do you think he walks away with this tournament? Do you think they book him to win it, and is this his year?
Was it last year, and I think it was the Johnny Weaver tournament, I got asked, how do you see this tournament unfolding? What do you think? Da-da-da-da-da. And I started going through stuff, and I was like, there's too many places to go. I was like, I didn't have a grasp of it. And what happened worked out really well. I'll put it like this. I certainly don't have any inside on that, and I'm not looking for it. I just want to see it unfold in front of me. But the booking is really good, and I think one of the things that good booking does is give you very much different places to go, and then the fact that you have something new this year in this international bracket means that we really did, except for our 1% boy, we really didn't get a whole lot of tells as to where everything's going.
No, we didn't.
I think that there is. How shall I say this? I think that there is, and you were part of it. I think that Kane Justice has a internet contingency that really would like to see him do this, and I think that you look at it and go, okay, Ethan Sharp, in a cowardly way last year, made himself a factor even as he was a non-factor, and do they play that off? I don't know. I think with Kane, I would just want to make sure that Kane gets experience in different ways all the way through, and then gets where he's going. He doesn't need to win it this year. He might win it this year. I have no idea, but I don't think that like this is his coronation or anything. I don't know. I'm not buying it. But then, in other words, the booking's really good here, and I'm not as good as seeing what's coming as I might be with, say, people in Stanford.
You got Cam Carter versus Smith Garrett. I got to know your thoughts here about this, because I've been saying this for weeks. And maybe this is a little bit of Vince Russo coming out on me, and I know that's probably a curse in some ways, but if you were to walk in and ask somebody, what is Smith Garrett's character? What is Smith Garrett? Who is Smith Garrett? I don't think they could answer you.
Really?
I can't answer you. He's good in the ring. Don't get me wrong. The match that he had last week on Worldwide and Absolute Justice was awesome. The feud with Osiris, we were aware that, because of, reason, hey, these guys do have lives outside this thing. So Osiris wasn't able to show up, and that was very weakly built, like very, very weak build for that anyway on TV. I just think that whole thing with Osiris the last few weeks has really left a bad taste in my mouth as far as Smith Garrett goes. What are your thoughts on Smith Garrett? Because I've had some very strong opinions about him the last few weeks.
Wow. I'll say this. Were you watching when he won the Rumble?
Yeah, I was there live. That was my first Rumble.
Oh, okay. I wrote about that night. And you can kind of go back and see what I wrote. I think it's on the free site, but I think you're a member anyway. You're a VIP member. I should plug that. But I think the guy has a story, and the story is I like Smith Garrett, and I think that he's a babyface. He's a babyface that's easy to believe in. Has some good fire. The fans get behind him. There are fans that come to see him, and kids relate to him right off the bat. I don't think he does. He doesn't have a gimmick, but he looks like a fighter, fights like a fighter, and you can beat on him, and it makes a comeback and is real determined. I mean, I don't know. I think sometimes folks are looking for so much creativity, or as you said, Vince Russo, or something I've never seen before, something surprising, that you lose, the spine of the business. When one of the things that the spine of the business is the guy that fights, the guy that wants to win the right way because he wants to prove that he's the best. And he's in the battle, and he's fighting to do that. And he may not win, and he may not lose, but he's in it. And I think the thing with Xyrus didn't plan out. I don't know what happened there as far as like behind the scenes, but yeah, I like him. I mean, I always think that's a guy that you can use, and that you can use in a lot of different ways. And there'll come a day where you can use him as a heel. But I think if you watch the fans in the arena, they always watch him. They always are for him.
Yeah. And
that counts with me a lot more than Vince Russo. Wouldn't it be great if blah 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 kind of booking? I know, what? How come they never blah 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 booking? So I'll defend him. I'll defend Smith Garrett.
It's funny that you say it'll work down the line as a heel, because I actually made that comment of maybe they should turn this guy and see what happens. I even made that.
Well, I'm not a fan of that. It's like he should keep going. If he's working what he's doing, they should keep using him. They should keep doing it. And then I don't think he's failing, but don't turn him just because he's failing. Turn him because he's really working.
Right.
Turn him because he's a strong baby face, and he'll make an even stronger heel. Don't turn him because he's a weak baby face, because what really is going to happen is he's going to be a weak heel.
Yeah.
But if you look at his positives, his build, his fire, how he talks, all that, he's more of a natural baby face than a natural heel. Ethan Sharp is a natural heel, and he plays up to it. I mean, that's just trying to use those examples. Don't work against that.
I look at it this way. I'm just one guy. I refer to myself sometimes as the stupid Mark. Opinions are like, what? Everybo's got one. So as long as
it's okay. You can argue with me. It's all right.
What I'm saying is
me too. I mean, it is an opinion, and it is try to back it up. And that's cool.
My thing is that you're absolutely right. Is you shouldn't turn him just to turn him, and you shouldn't turn him because he's a weak babyface. The fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, that crowd lights up when he comes out. So he's not a weak babyface. It's the Young Bucks analogy. Yes, I have my opinions of the Young Bucks. You guys have heard them on the channel many times over. If you're listening, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you. But they're selling T-shirts, and they're selling. They have fans cheer for them. So as long as that's happening, and they're in Hot Topic now. So as long as if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, the other thing is, you start watching wrestling for a long, long, long time, like I have. It's like not everything is going to be what I like personally. So I try to take what I like personally and put it on one shelf, and then I try to take what I think is working and put it on the other shelf. And what I notice, I'm watching the people and going, okay, what? And I just noticed when you go out in that lobby, there's always some kid trying to take a picture with Chet.
Yep.
Well, Chet too, but with Smith. If you go out, when he comes out, the place lights up. So that may not be exactly what you're looking for, but it's the kind of thing that makes a show, and it's the kind of thing that can make money. So I don't think Smith Garrett is – I think it is a pretty simple character, but it's fine with me. And the story of him winning that Rumble is a hell of a story.
It is, with him having the concussion and having to do comedy. It was an excellent story. And
the fact that he didn't know he was going to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a hell of a deal. I mean, that reaction, I think that helped to make him in the building. I mean, and so anyway, I'm a fan of his in that I think that he fits right in, and So, but like you said, not everything works for everybody, and while we have these shows to discuss this kind of stuff.
What is your take on this? They have the poster for No Excuses, which is this Saturday, and they have Chet Sterling on the poster, and at the very top of his head, they have the ESPN logo. Gonna ask you, do you know anything about what's happening here? Because Grant is totally kayfabing me on it. He won't tell me.
I'll put it like this. Well, number one, I'm going to answer your question directly. No, I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't think that's good for a poster. I don't think that's good for your image for the show. And this is one of those things where the generation I'm from, I think, and sometimes particularly, Stutz and I'll talk about it. Grant and I will, but Grant's from Wisconsin, where the generation wrestling fans I came from wasn't the Hulkamania generation. It wasn't the WWF superstars, and that's where Stutz is from. So when Stutz goes, my dream match is Kamala versus Ultimate Warrior, I make faces at him, and in fact to the point where he now does that just to get on my nerves. But if you were from Burlington, North Carolina, 15 years before that, before Stutz was, that was Ricky Steamboat. It wasn't the Ultimate Warrior, and the reason why I say that is I very much think that wrestling posters, the whole thing of every show has this name like it's a movie, this generic name like it's a movie, and that's more important than who's on the show and what matchup. Just blows my mind, because to me, what's going to sell more for SummerSlam? Well, no, SummerSlam's a bad example, but what's going to sell more for what's the last one? For the last paper, not Battleground, but the one before that. What would sell more, the WWE generic name or WWE Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe? It's going to be Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe, and particularly with independent promotions where you don't know the stories, and even if you do, you're not living with them all the time. I'd like to see it. If Chet Sterling's on the most important match on the show, Chet Sterling versus, gets his rematch for the Rising Generation League Championship. Just make it blank versus blank, and then a few more things in it. Not a poster with 30 people on it. That's what I see all the time now, is the poster with 30 wrestlers on it, and usually around here it's Ron Simmons in the front, the legend in the front of it. And what's a casual fan get out of that besides it's a wrestling show? Make it seem like the guys are important. Put on a main event, and pretend like it's important, or pretend like it has impact until the day that it comes that it does. So I do part ways with them about that. If there's an ESPN tease and Chet Sterling, you and I can talk about it. I didn't even know that was part of it, but okay, what's going on? That's not enough to draw anybody. Most people aren't even going to notice it, and all they're going to see is, well, there's a wrestler.
Yeah.
Tell me who Chet Sterling is. Do something where it's like, tell me why I should come. This is this fight versus this fight. It's like, when McGregor and Mayweather fight, the poster's going to be McGregor and Mayweather scowling at each other.
Yep.
That's what you need. Make it simple. That's what you need. And no one is Conor McGregor. No one is Floyd Mayweather. But you can hype it in a way that makes it seem important and not just, hey, wrestling show. It's like you wouldn't go to a concert unless you knew who the band was.
Yeah, I mean, it's
a concert. You're like, I don't know who's playing.
I mean,
tell me who's playing.
On this poster, they have Chet, hitting the pose, and they got the trophy there for the Weaver Cup, and it's no excuses. And at the very top of it, the main thing that caught my eye about this poster was, yes, we know Chet's going to be on the show. He's going up against Roy Wilkins in the Weaver Cup tournament, but they have ESPN, special ESPN taping across the top of this thing, and that's what caught my eye. I'm like, is this a gimmick like 80s Night was, or are they actually going to have ESPN cameras there? That's the thing that I'm worried, It almost puts the Weaver Cup secondary.
No, I would think that, my guess is, I know nothing, is that there'll be some ESPN cameras there.
You mentioned...
When those Broken guys came around, I don't want to get any kind of trademark trouble. When the Hardys came around, and I thought my dream would come true and I would finally be on a TNA show, and it didn't quite work out that way. That was it. That's all I wanted out of life. And
I felt so.
But they were taping. They were taping for TNA or Impact, or whatever the hell they were calling it by that point, and they announced that, so I don't know why you'd put ESPN on something unless it had something to do with ESPN.
I felt so bad for CWF that night when They had aired all the other indie promotions. They aired the MCW stuff. They aired the Mexico stuff. They aired all that. And then we finally get to the night where we're going to see a CWF show on Impact. We're going to see the Sportatorium on Impact. And about 3 or 4 days before that's scheduled to air, the Hardys leave, and they're not going to show the footage. I felt so bad for CWF that night.
Yeah, I felt bad for them, but on the other hand, the apotheosis, the climax, the biggest thing, that whole show that they did that TNA did in that Broken Matt Hardy style, the Broken Matt Hardy universe, was so cool, and it had so many guys from CWF Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah.
I mean, it was tremendous, and so I didn't feel all that sorry for them. I really didn't, because I was like, boy, those guys got on national television and a chance to. And a lot of it was cameos, but a lot of it wasn't. But to show their personalities, to show what they did, in one of the more memorable TNA shows ever. And so, yeah, I was kind of like, it would have been cool to see that. Now, I will say this. Last week I was in Waterloo, and they had the Luthez Showcase tournament that Chuck Taylor won, who had just been in CWF Mid-Atlantic. And that Chuck Taylor won, and he wins the tournament against Shane Strickland. I look over at the big screens. This is in Waterloo, Iowa, at the Five Brothers Convention Center, and I'm like, what the hell? And it's footage of CWF Mid-Atlantic, of CWF Sportatorium, and him wrestling Trevor Lee.
Wow.
So I was like, that was
it's
cool.
Reaching
I
places.
was like, that was all right. So, you might, circumstances might mean you miss a little bit, but I think all those little bits and pieces, you're running a grassroots business, add up.
Jonathan Miller in our chat room pointed out something that escaped me. Smith and Eric were on ESPN last year. Remember when they did that top 10 list and Eric Royal and Smith Garrett got featured?
Yeah, that's right.
I wonder if this plays anything to do with it. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. I know it's getting late, Bruce, but I do want to talk a little bit about WWE with you.
Okay.
Fans of the channel know that I have kind of sworn off the product after they did the whole angle, and I read your. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at your article right now that you did a couple weeks ago on the free side of the Torch, looking at that Raw that Monday, and I agree with you in a lot of things. We were talking before air about Big Cass and his theme music and everything, but I've sworn off the product. That right there. Other people on our channel quit watching a long time ago. They'll only watch New Japan, Lucha Underground, stuff like that. They swore off WWE for stuff like this going on. And I've always equated WWE to the sports team. I'm an Atlanta Braves fan. You follow your sports team even when the rotten years are there. And I made the comment last week after this angle thing that, okay, this just puts the stamp on the fact that they've had a couple rotten freaking decades. And I swore it off. I didn't watch Raw this past week. I read about it. I didn't watch SmackDown. I read about it. What are your general thoughts on the way this product is heading? Is it time for the 70-something crazy grandpa, crazy old man to step down and just do something?
I'll say it to you in this sense. You were talking about it like WWE is your favorite sports team, and you stay loyal to your favorite sports team. To me, WWE is not the team; it's the league. In other words, WWE is the major league,
right?
And particularly, it's been the major league ever since WCW went down. But it was the winning major league. It's the major league, and Americans want major league. And there are some minor leagues that can survive and find different niches, but that's what they pay attention to. So if they stop watching the sport because they're fed up with it for whatever reason, but people watch the NFL because that's major league sports.
Yeah.
And that's there. They have enough problems with what's going on in the league, then they'll quit watching the sport altogether. So I quit watching, but I always think, okay, you're coming back or you're not. And there are definitely people who are big wrestling fans, because whatever it was that caught them, that hooked them, really hooked them, And when it was there, they liked it. And then that hook went away, and they stopped watching. They move on to something else because we all have other things to watch. And I understand that. And I don't understand, unless you're getting paid to watch it, watching something every week, particularly 3 hours on a Monday night, that frustrates the hell out of you. And then here's the thing, I think. In today's world, with streaming services, with internet capability, with cheap stuff, you know, I tried to follow as much as I can for decades now. But to do that, I had to make arrangements a lot of times to get videotapes in the mail, VCR tapes in the mail. And if I was lucky, they were coming 5 or 6 weeks after the big shows that were there. I had to, like, figure out a way to get that and then watch it and then be up on that way. Now, New Japan Pro Wrestling, if that's the style of pro wrestling you like, and it's very good, it's $9.99 for a streaming service, not even $9.99, for a streaming service per month, and you can follow it. And then you can follow, there's all kinds of ways to follow everything fairly cheaply. And that's only if you've got like an ethical backbone. If you're a thief, there's all kinds of ways to do this. But you can find it. You're not required to watch the Major League. You can find that style that scratches your itch. And if that style that scratches your itch is Hulkamania, then you can go back 30 years and watch a ton of Hulkamania. You know, you can find it and watch it. And as someone who scratched and clawed for every little bit of wrestling I could get to figure out stuff and to see people, to me as an old guy, this is a really cool time. And, you know, if the Major League doesn't scratch what you want, you don't have to watch it. Or you can do this. I mean, you can just decide, I'm going to watch every time Brock Lesnar's on the show. And I know people resent him for being a part-timer. Or I'm going to watch every time that Roman Reigns isn't on the show. Or I'm just going to follow NXT. And I'm not going to watch any of this other crap. You know, I'm just going to follow the young. Or I'm going to, you know, and so to me the choices are out there. And I just know, I'm aware of this at my age, I don't want to spend too much time watching stuff that frustrates me and pisses me off unless there's some purpose for it.
You're damn right.
So
damn right.
That's my speech. I mean, that's what I would say. It's like, it's not a religion. It's not your country. It's not My Country 'Tis of Thee or America Love It or Leave It. You know, if it's not working, there's all kinds of other entertainment and sports out there for you. And sports is entertainment. If it's not entertaining you, don't watch it.
The second
life is hard. Why do you gotta add something to your set of tasks? That's, you know, most of us, we have jobs, and that's tasks that we do for pay.
Yeah.
You telling me I gotta like watch something I don't like because I always watched it? No, you don't. The hell you do.
I look at it this way. You mentioned New Japan. I've been following the G1 more than I have any year previously, and you know, and CWF. But CWF every week gives me what I need. To me,
right?
It's the perfect mix. It is the perfect mix. You're gonna get the flippity floppity flu every week. You're gonna get some of that Jim Cornette style, NWA style wrestling. You're gonna get Japan. You're gonna get modern day stuff. You're gonna get Ring of Honor stuff. That company, again, that's why we started the after show. It's a perfect mix. If I can get by with just, you know, wrestling-wise, watching a little bit of New Japan and watching CWF every week, and if it gives me whatever I need, screw WWE. And I've made a vow of, you know, you always say, people say, oh, I'm not going to watch, but then they're going to say they'll come back. There's a lot of people this week that messaged me and go, you need to go back on your word this week because it's Nakamura versus Cena. And my response to them was, no, I don't trust them to do the right thing and put Nakamura over clean. I don't trust them to do that. It's not going to happen.
Well, you know, the thing is, you could go, my curiosity got the better of me. When it's on live, you know, like track it. When it's on live on SmackDown, turn over, watch the match, go, oops, they got me. You know, they didn't get me for 8 hours and this amount of money. They got you for 20 minutes. And either it worked for you, it didn't, and then go back to your life. I mean, it's not that, you know, I mean, the way communication is, you can do that. You don't have to, you don't have to watch every little thing of it. And then, like you said, if you find CWF Mid-Atlantic, it really is a hell of a bargain. I mean, it's like you get
it's free.
if that's what you need for your wrestling. It's not. You're not. You don't have to sign a contract to be a citizen of Wrestling USA. You just, I think it comes from the McMahon family going on television all the time and trying to make you think, trying to get you to think that they're so great. But it's like, no, these wrestling companies work for the fans. So if you're not getting your value out of it, screw them.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, and we all work for people. It's like we all, so it's like you're not required to stay with something that frustrates you. So that's what, now you can sit there and go, it's a shame, or I'd like to see Nakamura used better. But I think that also if you're trying to help, I mean, I'm always like, I don't like, believe it or not, I'm going to get in trouble saying this, I don't give a damn about support indie wrestling. Here's what I give a damn about. Do a good job. Do a good job for my money. Do a good job for my time.
I'll agree with that.
And I'll support you. I don't have to support you just because you're some sort of category.
Yeah, you're the anti-establishment.
If you're good, you'll get the reward.
Yeah.
If you think you're good and you're not drawing people, the whole point of wrestling is to get people to come into that building. And if you're not getting people to come into that building, no matter how hard it is to do that or how hard it is to compete against the major league, and it's hard, no one told you to do that. Figure out a way.
I mean, I had to look at my 8-year-old son Tuesday, and my 8-year-old, who comes with me to every single CWF show, he won't be coming with me this weekend, sadly, but he loves going to indie shows. But Tuesday night, he looked at me and goes, "Daddy, why aren't you watching WWE with me today?" And I had to explain to him, "Son," he goes, "Chris Jericho returned." I says, "Son, isn't this the same thing you were getting 4 months ago? Isn't it? I mean, yeah, they threw AJ Styles in the mix, but essentially it's the same thing you got 4 months ago. And it worked.
Yeah, but he's 8 years old and you're 32.
Absolutely.
There is a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, "Son, go watch it. Go have fun. Dad, it's not interesting to Dad anymore." And I had to explain to him. It's almost, I felt almost as bad as when I had to explain to him that it was gimmicked, that it was not, I hate using the F word, fake. Because he was going to school and hitting children. And I had to explain to him, "Son, it's not real. They know how to fall. They know how, it's an art form. It's not real." And he knows that, but he still cheers for him and boos for whoever, But, you mentioned watching just for the one match. I've gotten to the point where I believe that the only way to change the product now is if enough people stop viewing altogether. If those ratings sink so low that it forces him to do it. They got a TV contract coming up for renewal either at the end of this year or into next year. And I think that the only way to really get them to change, to really, quote-unquote, as Vince likes to say, shake things up, pal, is to get those ratings to sink so low that it's basically like a slap in the face. And yes, Nakamura versus John Cena. It does pique my curiosity, but I'm not going to watch it for the simple fact that I don't want to give him a quarter-hour rating point. I know I'm just one guy,
look at it like this. If a lot of people do what you're doing, and then a lot of people are intrigued by this one particular match, they would look at it and go, "Okay, we've got to feature Nakamura better because look at what this did." But yeah, I agree with you. I haven't been on Twitter forever, but it's been about a year, and one of the funnier things I saw on Twitter one time, I got into this fight about, Roman Reigns. I hate Roman Reigns. Well, stop watching. Yeah. I can't do that. What do I won't see all that stuff. Then you don't hate Roman Reigns enough to stop watching, which means that he's, it's like, what do you really don't hate. You just like, you've got some kind of weird emotional, I want to boo him or they should do something else. But, common sense will tell you if you don't like whatever shows you don't like on television, how you don't watch them.
And you mentioned maybe it would cause them, hey, if everybody tuned in for that one segment, it would cause them to feature Nakamura better. The sad part is I don't think it does, because the second they have interest in a guy, they always come along and pull the rug out from underneath of you and smack you in the face with it. It's just the way it's been for like the last 10 to 15 years
Well,
with Vince.
I'll say that I talk about this every weekend, but there's also, because of shows like this and because of the internet and because of, it's the curse of number 30 in the Royal Rumble. The year that, and I was watching with a bunch of CWF wrestlers when it happened. The Royal Rumble, when a lot of people thought Daniel Bryan, who was not entered in it,
should have been,
was going to win the Royal Rumble. And I was watching with a bunch of people, and I was like, he's not in it. I didn't know who was going to win. I didn't know for sure anything, but I was like, he's not, but I know how they think.
Yeah.
And I was like, you guys built up this big expectation in your mind about something you thought would be better, and then when they didn't promise you any of that, and then when something else came along, you were furious. And now I think that people do that a ton, where it's like they're in the Roman Reigns business. I mean, it's like you can accept it or reject it, but to sit there and be disappointed because he didn't turn at WrestleMania, or he didn't turn when he should turn and he's not going to turn, you're just winding yourself up and setting yourself up for disappointment. And I'm not saying you're wrong either, but I'm just saying that it's there's this whole reality now where there's this whole other universe that people have in their minds where it causes them to be even more disappointed, and sometimes it causes them to miss things that are good that are right in front of them. Because I will say this, they frustrate the hell out of me, but I've liked what they've done with Lesnar and Reigns and Braun Strowman and particularly Samoa Joe. Like, they've done what good wrestling lately. They've done what good wrestling companies do, which is that make a lot of money. Separate the very top stars out, make them into big fighters, and have them fight hard for championships.
You
and
mentioned.
So, so I would say, and the thing about I'm going to quit forever. What does happen with them is it comes and goes. You get lured back into it, then you get frustrated again, and all that. But my point is, if you watch CWF Mid-Atlantic every Wednesday night, and you go into their you go into their library too, and that satiates your need for fighting, for professional wrestling. Well, geez, that's a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need the rest of it for? And then if you pay attention and like, okay, once in a while I want to try something else. Or if New Japan, G1's a ton to watch and a ton of it's great. It's like, what do you need everything else for? It's like the complaining about WWE to me is like there are other choices.
Yep.
You don't have to keep watching WWE.
It's not like
if
it
you
was.
Like professional wrestling.
It's not like it was even 5 years ago where they were the only game in town and we didn't have access to all this stuff. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you can get. You can spend $9.99 on the W Network and watch the 605 1980 Jim Crockett shows.
Yep.
Those 2-hour shows. You watch one a week, and you can do that for 8 or 9 years, and you'll be and then you can watch the main events on the pay-per-views that they save. So it's like there's I don't know. I just my thing is to be a student and to learn the history and to learn, and I love the history of it.
That's
and
right.
Watching the stars and watching everybody and watching the future and watching the modern stuff. But it's sort of my job, or I'm sort of like committed to it. But I'm not sort of. I am committed to it. But damn, if that part went away, I'd be cherry picking the hell out of everything.
Mm-hmm. He is Bruce Mitchell. He's a senior columnist for the Pro Wrestling Torch. You can check him out at pwtorch.com. I'll put him over here for a minute, folks. We don't usually do this, but I'll do it here. VIP membership pricing, 1 month, $10. Go ahead and go over there and listen for a month. Even if it's just for the Bruce Mitchell audio show, you will not be disappointed. He does that every weekend. He also writes columns there. Bruce, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. I never expected you to say yes. I'm so glad you did. I'll be honest with you. I want to get you back on again so that my co-host could pick your brain a little bit. I'd love to get you back on after the Rumble airs, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's funny what happens when you just ask. But yeah, and particularly summertime's a good time for this kind of stuff. So I'll see you Saturday night, and Yeah, good show. I really enjoyed it.
All right, stay on the line with me here because I'm going to go ahead and hit the outro music. Folks, if you like what you've heard tonight, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, throw a little support our way. We just reached a subscriber milestone and was actually able to change the URL of the channel. It's now youtube.com/1650PWAM. We are 1650PWAM Pro Wrestling and more. You can give us a follow on Twitter at 1650PWAM. You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Pillar to Post. And Bruce, I have your Twitter handle on the screen here. I hope that's okay. It's Mitchell PW Torch. Give us a follow. Jeff Edwards should be back next week. I hope he's been enjoying his vacation. Go check out all the other content. AC has a really good series going on covering the Mayweather-McGregor fight and the build-up to that. So go ahead and give that a listen on the channel as well. We got a Great Moments in Radio History series that I've been bringing to you guys. I put one up there from the Ron and Fez show just yesterday. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you at the Sportatorium.